Welcome back to Spank Range Garage. Tonight we got to do a little work on the old Spank Wagon. She's got a huge problem. The air conditioning doesn't work. A lot of people are surprised that this car actually has air conditioning because it's got this huge bottom mount turbo on it. But I did very carefully build this kit to retain full factory air conditioning, the E fan on the front, the mechanical fan on the back. When it works, it is phenomenal. Great vent temperature, great temperature control. It works well. However, last time when I blew the motor, I put this motor in, I threw it back together, and I never charged the AC because I put the motor in the winter. It's summer now. I pulled a vacuum on it. I gave it a little dose just to leak check it, and we do have a leak. So let's troubleshoot that. When you pull your caps off, listen closely. If you hear a little spritz, it means you got a Schrader problem here. It's very common for them to leak there. We'll throw gauges on it and see what we have, but I'm not expecting to see any pressure in here, or very minimal if that. Now it did pull a decent vacuum, and I left it evacuate for like 24 hours. I didn't put a micron gauge on it to see how low it actually got, but I was confident it was low enough. Yeah, we got next to nothing. Nothing. And with the ambient temperature being like 75 degrees right now, I'd expect to see almost 100 pounds in this. So we've got a leak. All right, so to leak check this, we're gonna charge the system with some clean, dry nitrogen. Get the nitrogen into the system. I have this like cheesy Pep Boys charging thing that I pulled the hose off, put a Schrader valve in. It's 30 PSI, 50, it's about 80. Should be safe for everything. I don't trust this thing, so I'm going to disconnect it. So we have about 80 pounds of nitrogen in the system now. Clean, dry nitrogen, so we're not bringing moisture in, because really you might be tempted to just fill this with shop air. I've done that before in a pinch. It'll work, but you're going to have to evacuate all that moisture, and that could take many hours. So now let's get some soapy water. I'm going to start with the connections that were last touched up here at the condenser. So that's where I break the system when I remove the engine. And we'll be watching closely for bubbles there. I don't see anything yet, which is unfortunate. I was hoping it was going to be something easy because the system did work well. And then I blew the motor up and now it has a leak. Now the physical compressor got hit by connecting rod pieces, so anything's fair game for where we could be leaking at. It's pretty much just going to soak the world down. Pressure hasn't moved visually yet. And just pray it's not an evaporator. Now I know there are many like commercial leak check products. You can do the dye stuff. I don't go that way unless it's like a very small leak that I can't find any other way. But usually it's something pretty obvious, I find. And this project may make a liar out of me with that. Nothing obvious there. Nothing here yet. I don't see anything on the compressor. That's not good, boys. Was really hoping for an easy slam dunk here, hoping it would be the last connection I had apart. Pull this line off, check this Schrader too. You want to clean these out good afterwards. Oh boy. Oh, we might have got real lucky. Now that'll do it. Okay, interesting. So the O-ring is torn up in this cap, so I would have never heard the pts when I go to pull that off. I've actually had a couple GMs with bad Schraders that I've gotten away with just putting a fresh O-ring in the cap, seating it nicely. The thing runs for years that way. So that is a leak. Is it all the leaks? Most likely. Like I said, this car would hold a charge for years, never a problem. And the connections I had apart up here are all good, but we do have this leak, and you can see that pissing out right there at only 80 psi. Another thing to mention when troubleshooting the HVAC on a car, always question your equipment, your manifold set, your hoses, every connection you make. So you've got, you got a potential leak path here to here. You've got the leak path of the actual quick connect fitting. You've got actual hose leaks. You got valve packing leaks. Spray your stuff down if you're in question. That way you're not chasing your tail. And always break your service connections when you do your pressure testing, because we would have never found this leak if we would have left the gauge on there, or if we were only reading the high side, the low side would have been leaking, we'd never know. So check both of those, that's critical. Spray down all your connections. On a car, I've never actually seen a hose leak, but it definitely could happen. On the E39 particularly, that port down there, part that's touching the air filter there, I have had that leak at the weld. So that line's actually been replaced, but otherwise I'm not aware of any common leaks on E39s. Alright, so I was gonna order that part online, but I live right by a very good junkyard, and there's an X5 right up front here. 3-liter M54 X5, black interior. 3-liter M54 X3. They got something for everybody here. Alright. We got a port here. She's a little different. It's got a removable Schrader in it, where the E39 has the aluminum button. Probably still fit though. This cap's got a good O-ring in it, so we'll take that. Should just be a 17 and a 19. You can pull this baby off of here. Now, unfortunately, this yard does not discharge AC systems. So if this has any charge in it, we're gonna know about it. But we'll let her off nice and slow. Watch your eyes. Ah, shoot. Oh, I had the fitting. All right, there it is. This one's actually steel, which is interesting. It's aluminum on my E39. Now on the X3, it's not serviceable. Well, you can put a new Schrader in, but it's not a removable port. That won't work for us. Let's look around, see if we can find an E39. We'll grab a couple of these just in case we find a bad one. Another X5. Man, sad to see. These aren't bad machines, but people just put zero effort into fixing them. I mean, look at this one, straight body. Both of those straight body. It's even got carbon fiber accents. Here's an E39 01, gray interior, automatic. That's got a steel fitting on it too. That's weird that mine's got a aluminum fitting. Let's look at a couple more. There's got to be another E39 here. The 535. Someone already yanked the N54, N55. That's a good motor to grab here because you got them for like 220 bucks out the door. Just something funny to see. So they banned Sawzalls here and other power tools. Somebody cut a rear door sill out of a cord with sheet metal shears. Somebody spent some time on this. That is insane. People are very dedicated to the sport. They also got a bunch of new Kia and Hyundai models. Here's another one where someone used a drill to drill every 1/4 inch and get the spot welds, take this whole side off. Just crazy to me. 2 of these from the yard. The second one I pulled had pressure behind it, so we know it holds. So let's swap this out. Now this may still have pressure in it from last night. You want to piss this slowly, not just Hail Mary it out, because it will carry compressor oil with it, whether it's refrigerant in there, nitrogen, shop air, whatever you're using. It'll take some of the oil out of the compressor and blow it all over the place. So you want to bleed it off slow. Keep as much of that oil in there as you can. Looks like BMW updated it to this steel one with the removable Schrader in it, a little different design. So there's still some compressor oil on this O-ring. We'll put this right back in. All right, Now we can start pulling the system under vacuum and prepare for recharge. I'm gonna hook up both sides here. Open that up. I'm just using a standard Harbor Freight vacuum pump, nothing special here. Put some fittings on it to make it work with your manifold. Make sure these are closed. The way I do it is I turn this on, let the pump pull a vacuum between here and the valve, then we'll crack this slowly. Alright, so now we've got vacuum between the pump and the manifold set, and now we'll put that vacuum to the car. I'm just going to crack one of these very lightly and just let it sip on that for a while. You can see it pulls down fairly quick. We're already at 28 inches or so, but that's not enough. It's got to sit for time to boil moisture out. So this system was evacuated for 24 hours initially, then it was charged, then the charge leaked, but it didn't leak all the way down to 0, and then I charged it with the nitrogen. So in theory, we really didn't ever have this system open under vacuum other than when we changed the port here. So maybe I'll evacuate it for 3 or 4 hours, and then we'll hit it with the charge and see how it does. Another good thing to do is once you get down somewhere low on the gauge, like we're at 29 inches or so, is to valve off your pump. And now watch the gauge. It shouldn't really move. Now if there is moisture in the system and that is boiling out, you will see a pressure increase. But this just gives you like a sanity check that your setup is sort of tight. You really can't see what's going on without a micron gauge because the resolution on these is not good enough. But a couple seconds here, all looks good, nothing to worry about. Throw the vacuum back on. Time will get away from you at the Spank Ranch. It's the next day. We've probably been on the vacuum pump for like 20 hours now. That's okay. More is better, so let's get this thing recharged. Alright, so while the pump's still running, close your manifold valves. That'll lock the vacuum into the system. Then you can kill your pump, disconnect your yellow hose. I use only the highest quality R134 from Wally World. These are now $10 each. They were as low as $4.75 just a few years ago. So that's a bummer. Anyway, now they got this EPA Joe Biden release valve in them, so you have to have this special adapter. These things suck, always leaks, causes me problems. Put the blue thing on first. Fits kind of crappy, and we'll put my valve on. Alright, seems to be okay so far. Tie this into your manifold set. Now we need to bleed the yellow line because the yellow line just saw atmospheric air. So you have a slug of air between here and your manifold set. So what I do with that is loosen it up here at the manifold. Hold the can upside down so you're getting the liquid. And now crack this thing open. Right, you're gonna hear it blow out, but wait until you see liquid come out up here at the threads. And you know you're good. Alright, so now we got liquid refrigerant up at the threads. We've purged all the air out, we think. So I'll go ahead, open my can valve, and we'll start to dump this into the system. You'll see my gauges come up here. Up to about 30 psi. You can listen to the can, you actually hear the liquid coming through the bottom of the valve. We're up to about 40, almost 50. So I'm going to close this, go start the car, bring the compressor on, that'll bring our low side pressure down, and we'll get the most out of the can. Who tuned this thing? pretty good. When the can's empty, you'll hear it stop flowing and the can will be nice and cold. So now we close our valve again. I want to close it up here as well. Lock that in. So now we're running at 30 pounds on the low side, about 105 on the high side. Nice and empty. This car takes 42 ounces, so that's like 3.5 cans. I'll probably honestly stop at 3. I undercharge these a little bit and I never have an issue with that. Little leaking, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to purge the line, though it should already be purged. Not going to take any chances. Let's start dumping this can in. It also helps to have these cans warm, because then the pressure inside the can will be greater, more likely to flow into the system. The condenser fan just started. Our head pressure now is about 170 psi, and our low side is still about 31 psi. So that's good to see that the system's working as intended. These cars are a variable speed condenser fan, so they ramp up and down based on head pressure, so the fan's turning very slowly right now as expected. Start on our third can, our final can. Charging very slowly at this point, but we'll get her in there. Sometimes it's nice to idle it up when you're doing this, get a little more suction from the compressor, but with the drive-by-wire, I don't have 2 people to do that with. Got a block of wood on the gas pedal. So that dropped my suction side to like 28 pounds. We're getting a lot better flow out of the can now. Alright, so with 3 cans in her, we got about 225 pounds of head pressure, about 30 on the low side. Condenser fan is running, but very slow. It's at its slowest speed. The engine fan pulls a lot of air, so that thing really doesn't need to ramp up till you're in traffic or something. Ambient temperature is about 75 degrees out right now. She's blowing nice and cold in the car. If you look at your temperature pressure correlation with 134A, you're looking at like a 30, 25, 30, I don't know, maybe 35 degree vent temperature, or 35 degree coil temperature at least, which is good. You don't want it too cold or you'll ice it up, so you'll be driving on the highway in a humid day and the coil will actually fill with ice. You'll lose your airflow. You won't have any air conditioning. But you also don't want to overcharge it either. So one thing I just remembered is that this rad support is off a different car. It's off a 540i. I don't know if the AC capacities are any different on the V8 model. So this charge information may not be totally accurate, but we put 36 ounces in this and I'm happy with that. So we'll leave it there for now and we'll drive it for a couple weeks and see what we think about it. So we got a good steady drip coming out of the evaporator box. We are stripping moisture. So right here sitting still, we're at a 45 degree vent temperature. That's not even with it on recirc. If I recirc, she'll do even better. Yeah, with that on recirc, she's coming down to about 40. I'm sure that'll even do better on the road. So we'll see where it tapers off at. If we see low 30s, it's still a little low on charge. We'll have to add another half a can or so. Final thing, I think I'm gonna make it a habit to always spray down my service ports after working on them because of what we just had happen. never know when one of those isn't going to reseat. And with this refrigerant being $10 a can now, it would suck to lose it all. So that looks good. I'm going to hit them with brake clean because we don't want that moisture sitting in there. It will corrode that Schrader valve up. Compressed air would be a great option too, but I'm not near the shop. Alright guys, 87 degrees, it's 2 weeks later. We're in a little heat wave in Pennsylvania. And we are looking at 41 degree vent temperature. So we'll say this one is fixed. This car is very comfortable. And we'll wait for the next problem to arise. So anyway guys, that was kind of an easy one because it was just a service port leaking. But really the concepts in this video apply to everything air conditioning on most cars, not even specific to BMWs. So have a good way to check for leaks. Checking for leaks with refrigerant, you can do it. It's expensive and the EPA doesn't appreciate it. That's why I like to use nitrogen. Nice deep vacuum to get all your moisture out. Be very careful the sequence of operations with your valves when you turn your manifold set on and off, when you bleed your yellow hose. Just one or two mistakes in the recharging process, you can potentially induce air or moisture back into your freshly evacuated system. Then you got to start over. Hopefully you didn't start charging yet. It'd be even worse if that happens after you have a can or two in because you got to start over. Not many people have a refrigerant reclaiming machine, so pretty much venting it off to atmosphere is your only option. But